Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
She's back. People wondered where you were yesterday.
Oh, I was working.
You were working. You were with your sister.
Oh yeah, I was walking. I
You
had
weren't
a
working
five.
with
I
your
had
sister.
I had a 5K I had to do also for an event, and I have to do part of it though. I got to probably do it again because we ended up shopping instead of doing the 5K.
Yeah, it was like one of those. Just to explain, people were like, "How does that even work?" It's like it's one of those virtual runs because
Yes.
obviously they're not doing 5Ks now. So she was doing a virtual run, and she got distracted by the store she was running by.
We were like, hey, let's stop in this store, let's stop in that store. And then we ended up buying a bunch of stuff and had to call Kneon to come get us because, well, we didn't have to. We could have carried it back, but I had a bad headache from the heat and the sun. So we
It was very hot.
It was, and I had a headache. So he had to come get us to carry us back with all our bags because we bought a bunch of stuff.
So we got halfway through the run, decided to shop, and I had to go drive down
Yeah.
to pick you
So
up.
no, I'm just going to do it again on the treadmill. So
Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to talk about, which is cartoons. We're going to talk about cartoons and shipping, and we're going to talk about the Owl House because it's become the latest. I knew this was going to happen.
yeah, you totally said it.
I said because there's this weird trend with cartoons these days where they claim they're made for children, but they're not actually made for children. They're made for teenagers and young adults.
Right. And it's like you cannot just have a show unless you have to know the sexuality of every character ever. It's ridiculous. I don't care if it's straight, LGBTQ relationships, whatever. I don't care what the relationship is. The fact of the matter is that you have to constantly worry about who's kissing whom, who likes whom, who's sleeping with whom is ridiculous.
I mean, you just go out to, just type in cartoon relationships. This is what's so weird about this. Like, cartoon news isn't even about cartoon news anymore. It's about which cartoon characters are boinking.
No, it's mostly about who's representing what and what kind of representation they were able to shoehorn in and get away with. That's what it's about. At the end of the day, even if it makes no sense to the show, it's about back pats for who's going to get, relationship stuff shoved in there.
Yeah.
Representation.
Yeah, and it is. It's again, though, it does feel like cartoon shows now are created for young adults and 20-somethings,
Yeah.
and not the intended audience. Like, it just, up at the top here, we've got Korra talking about the representation. Well, Korra itself was a tonal shift from Avatar,
Right.
which was still a very young show, but then Korra, they aged the characters up. But I mean, this is the thing. When they talk about cartoons now, it's all about cartoon characters, representation, who's sleeping with whom.
And if people don't get their ships, and the articles are all about, well, they didn't ship these characters like they should have. And it's like, you look at the target demographic for these shows, like Korra was older, but like some of these target demographics, they kept claiming She-Ra. Okay, I love this. She-Ra was supposed to be for, I guess, in their own write-up, like 7-year-olds to like 6-year-olds to 12-year-olds or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the original argument was, it's not for you, it's for kids, until it started about shipping and pushing agendas and relationships and stuff. And then it's not for the kids, it's for older people.
That's just it. Nobody can make up their mind who the cartoons are for. Basically, the vibe I'm getting, and we'll talk about this, it's complicated, but I really think that a lot of the showrunners today are using budgets set aside for children's programming to create their own fanfics with self-insert characters.
Yes.
And they're also working through issues that they have personally with cartoon shows that are supposed to be for kids.
If I hear prom one more time, I'm going to
For
flip and hit
God's
somebody.
sake. Well, that's okay. You're going to hear it one more time.
Is that what this is?
Yes.
Are you effing kidding me?
I
What
am
is
not.
their obsession with flipping prom?
I don't know.
Did you not go to your prom?
She did not.
Oh, that what this whole thing is? I mean, seriously, you didn't go to your prom. Do you feel that you need to go to your prom and you need to insert it in everything you do because you didn't go to prom?
I'm going to do a cartoon, a straight hetero robot cartoon, and the robots are all going to go to robot prom.
That's right, because, a self-insert there. I mean, it's dumb. I went to prom, but I went with a bunch of friends. We didn't go with dates. We went together as friends because we thought we'd have more fun that way, which we probably did. But, if I hadn't gone to it, I wouldn't be trying to relive it in my 20s repeatedly.
Yeah, it just, like I said, it feels like that, at least American animation, because I'm always comparing American animation to anime, and anime, how you don't for the most part, you don't get a lot of self-insert characters. They try to tell a story. We often have women writing male characters, men writing female characters.
Yeah, and if you didn't go to prom, that's okay. A lot of the times characters miss prom because they're too busy out there kicking ass and destroying evil and trying to get better at what they do in the world instead of being 20-some years old, upset about missing your damn prom and putting it into every stupid show.
So we're going to talk about the Owl House and the non-troversy controversy about going where we thought they were going to go with it and focusing on relationships. Now, before people say we're complete Owl House haters, I actually gave the show a really good review.
Yeah, I actually like the Owl House. So.
Yeah, I actually like the Owl House. I do think the witch is Ryoko from Tenchi.
Pretty much, yeah.
But, I mean, the show itself, I thought was, it's pretty quality and it's something original. That's something.
I have no problem with the character being bi either. My problem is I'm so tired of them shipping people in these shows constantly. You cannot have a show anymore, a cartoon especially, unless there's some kind of relationship involved and you have to ship everybody. And it's like, really?
Yeah, really. So we're going to talk about that and try to figure out where it comes from. Because again, even shipping in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's when shippers go toxic and they take to Twitter, Tumblr, whatever. They threaten showrunners. You're pretty much, especially in American animation, when you put a show out there, it almost feels like you're beholden to the Twitter audience, because if they don't like you, they're gonna let you know.
Yeah, well, I just think it's toxic and sad. The constant use of prom.
It is overused. There is definitely
really?
There are definitely some issues these showrunners need to work through.
Just have a damn prom for yourselves and stop putting it in every show ever.
So the story from Cartoon Brew is that it is kind of interesting. Disney executives did not want the characters to be queer.
Really? Because they've been pushing for that lately. They got all kinds of accolades for Andy Mack and all that stuff, and they've been kind of pushing it in some of the things that they're doing lately. I don't see why they would suddenly have an issue with it.
Well, I think people don't understand. Disney is like a many-headed beast, and I think it's because that was like the live action arm of Disney, and this is Disney animation.
But it's the same target audience.
Well, they might. Okay. Thought process. They might think that the show is for an older audience versus the cartoon show appealing to a younger audience. I don't know.
I don't know either. It doesn't make sense to me that they would be anti this when they've been kind of pushing for this. They've been doing the rainbow lines and all that. They really seem to be, okay with it. In other aspects and shows on Disney, I don't know why this one would have a problem.
So anyway, the creator, Dana Terrace, took to Twitter. Of course, it's always on Twitter.
Yes, of course it's Twitter.
And said that in development, she was very open about my intention to put queer kids in the main cast.
Well, you got to go for those GLAAD awards.
I'm a horrible liar, so sneaking it in would have been hard. When we were greenlit, I was told by certain Disney leadership I could not represent any form of bi or gay relationship on the channel, probably because they're afraid of the moms, but they've already pissed a lot of moms off with the witchcraft. So we got...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So now we got gay witches.
I forgot about that.
Disney promotes gay witches, everybody. That's the thing. So she added, I'm bi. I want to write a bi character. Of
course you do, because you can't write anything. People can't write anything if it's not themselves.
Luckily, my stubbornness paid off, and I'm very supported by current Disney leadership.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Here's another case. This whole thing, I honestly think it's a battle between all these people to try to see who could do representation better and get more awards. I really honestly think it is, because there's no other reason for it.
Yeah, so, okay, this explains a lot. This is She-Ra too, and when I was developing Owl House, I always wanted to do a prom episode.
God, what is it
to make up for my own experiences. Back then, prom was an anagram for perennial ritual offering maiden. I'm so incredibly grateful for the crew working to make this episode so badass. In development, yeah, I was open about it. So Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Falls, said the same thing. Said that, he wasn't allowed to have gay characters. Now he snuck in the gay kiss at the end with police officers.
Yeah. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe it was greenlit before, but I don't know. There's definitely a tale of two Disneys here, because I guess it depends who you're working with, because we're seeing other things, but I don't know.
So Chris Nee, the creator of Doc McStuffins, had to go to the mat for the two mom episode of Doc McStuffins. So
it literally feels like, I'm sorry, but it literally feels like who can outdo who on the LGBTQ inclusion. It just seems like that with all this stuff. It's like, we got to see who can outdo who.
We got to one up. Because
don't you know diversity pretty much means women are lesbians anymore. So I'm just saying.
Well, yeah. So these these 3 creators are speaking out about their experiences with Disney, but creators elsewhere face similar hurdles. In a recent interview, Rebecca Sugar and Noelle Stevenson spoke about their struggles, and we're going to talk about this. I think it's like, I don't have a problem with representation in cartoons.
No, I don't either.
But what's going on here is, it does seem like it's now every lead character of every cartoon show is trendy.
Because I'm sorry, to me it just seems like you said, trendy. It just seems like it's how can I do self-inserts, and how can I outdo everybody else to say that I'm the pioneer for diversity, and that's how it comes across. Now, I complained about Noelle Stevenson was that she was trying to do everything that Rebecca Sugar already did, and try to take credit for it. So then their answer was, well, let's get them together, and that was a little weird, don't you think? People keep pointing out that Rebecca Sugar did it first. Yeah. And then here we go. Oh, I have her with Noelle Stevenson.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
but
it was, God. So
she still did it first.
So yeah, I mean, in the It's a Small World, from the It's a Small World playing deck, I guess, Noelle Stevenson's wife actually works on Owl House too. Does. So this is going back to, there is a very small group
with a very specific target.
And they mostly came from Tumblr. I'm gonna be honest. They mostly came from Tumblr, and it's basically Tumblr making cartoons for Tumblr. Now, again, before people flip the fuck out, I already said, what I watched the Owl House, I thought was actually pretty good.
We both liked it. I haven't seen it. I haven't really had time to watch it since.
I watched the first couple episodes. I thought
it was good. I'd watch more. Yeah. I think at the time they only had a couple episodes out, and then we just got busy with other things.
Yeah.
I would definitely watch it. I have absolutely no problem that she's bi. My problem is that I'm just getting really tired of, it seems like for every show, we have to ship characters. And I don't care if you're talking about straight characters. I don't care if you're talking about, gay, bi, trans, whatever. Everyone has ship characters. I don't care about that. I'm talking about just in general, that there's this need to ship children. At the end of the day, they're shipping children.
Yeah, because all these characters are underage. Now, when we grew up in a totally different era, and the cartoons we watched, a lot of times, if there was romance involved, it was usually pretty subdued or pretty, whatever, peck on the cheek, maybe, or there was no romance involved.
There was no romance involved. It was like flirting, general flirting that was like, haha, wink, nod. But there wasn't like actual relationships most of the time.
So it could be argued that at least in the cartoon division, they know that the parents will have a conniption fit if every show is about relationships. I'm
sorry, but we're looking at a huge list that they're all going that way.
Pretty much.
I'm sorry, but that's how it comes across.
And I mean, pretty much every new cartoon show, it's like, and again, it's like, are these shows actually for kids?
No, let's be honest, they're not.
I don't think they are anymore. I think these cartoon shows are, again, for Tumblr, by Tumblr. Now, when we were kids, we had stuff like Strawberry Shortcake, and all she had to worry about was running from the pedo pie man. The pedo pie. So it was wholesome entertainment. He wanted to pluck her berries.
And now we'd have a show where it would probably be, Strawberry Shortcake and Sour Grapes having a thing going on.
Well, no, that's a big, I would say Blueberry Muff.
Blueberry Muffin and Strawberry Shortcake?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it would probably be something like that. Because, and there'd be a prom. Because there has to be a prom.
Berry prom.
It's berry prom.
Shortcake's gonna get her berries picked at the prom for the very first time.
Berry prom. Look, it's groundbreaking.
It's very sexy.
But they're like 8-year-olds. Doesn't matter. It's not for you. It's for the children.
They had some representation though, because I want to remind people that Plum Puddin' started out as a boy and ended up as a girl.
That is true.
That is 100% true. And you know why? Toys.
The bane of shows that ruin every show is when they have a toy line attached. It makes a show automatically bad. Tell it the trolls.
Plum Puddin' didn't get I read this somewhere. I was like, what is the deal with Plum Puddin'? Plum Puddin' didn't get a doll because the boy dolls didn't sell very well. Because Huckleberry Pie was a Huckleberry Pie. He didn't sell very well.
We have one.
We do have one.
Actually, we don't. You know who has it? Pinky Boo.
Pinky Boo
has an extensive original strawberry shortcake collection.
So he didn't sell. So then when they made a plum pudding doll, because I've got all this useless 80s knowledge, when they made a plum pudding doll, they're like, let's put him in a dress. And now plum pudding's a girl because it sells better.
And those dolls are, and actually, one of the most expensive ones in the original strawberry shortcake line.
So there we go. I tried to like debunk this with strawberry shortcake, and I actually wound up confirming that strawberry shortcake had representation back in the 80s.
So suck it, Tumblr.
Suck it, Tumblr. We did it first. But yeah, I'm just like, I don't understand why everybody is so preoccupied with the sex lives of cartoon characters.
I know, it's creepy. A lot of times they're kids.
I mean, look at these articles. We get these on, we get these.
I mean, the gems, though, at least they're like adults. That's,
adultish.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not so much, it's not so bad. Plus, it's its own thing. So is the Owl House. But these characters were adult characters, So it wasn't as, pushing it on kids. You know what I mean? It wasn't like trying to make worrying about who kids are sleeping with. It was like you're worrying who the adults are sleeping with, which is a little bit better because they're adults, As long
as the adults are not sleeping with kids, keep the pie man.
You're fine.
Keep the pie man far, far away.
But the problem is they keep obsessing about who these kids are sleeping with.
I don't get it. I don't get it probably because I'm an old guy. But when I was a kid,
I'm a woman and I don't get it.
When I was a kid watching cartoons, I never once thought about who these characters were sleeping with.
I didn't either.
Because I was a kid. That's the difference. We've got these shows that are basically using money allocated for children's programming being tailored for teens and young adults.
So now we have these little kids who are getting exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed to. Not saying that diversity is what I'm talking about just sex in general. And they're like, you have to explain to our daughter at the time why the gems were fusing and why we were like, as parents.
Why was it Amethyst that dove headfirst in between Garnet's legs?
Something like that,
on Cartoon Network to fuse. I'm like, they couldn't just like Dragon Ball fuse.
No. Well, it's still, I can't say much. Pre-tier
pre-tier
still takes the taco. If you want to
no
see
pun intended.
Yeah, if you really want to see something, go watch pre-tier. And as a parent, I'm going to own up my mistake right here. It was a little bit much when my son at the time, who was he was like 5. No, I don't think he was in that old 4.
Yeah.
Was running around going, "Preet with me," and then going like this, and I was like, "Oh my god,
doing the pose and everything."
I'm like, I guess he's watching when I'm watching, and I have to be more careful.
Yeah, but, well, maybe that's what boils down to. Like, if you're a parent and you don't want your kids exposed to it, then don't watch a show. But I think my takeaway from all this is it seems like these cartoon shows are
going to adult for
they're too adult
audience. They're saying
just in general, like regardless of a lot of themes and stuff, and they were like, well, kids should be they deserve quality entertainment. And like, kids don't think about these things as much as adults
that are doing it.
And when you've got people out there who are working on these shows, and it's not a one-off. I mean, I've seen so many showrunners be like, I'm using this as my own therapy.
Yes.
I'm using this cartoon as my own therapy. I'm like,
stop with prom.
Oh my god. But so many of them, and it's a trend. And again, it's a small group of people from Tumblr. They've got kind of the Hollywood animation scene locked down. I think this is why a lot of people are going to anime too. And it could be argued that a lot of this stuff comes from anime, but the anime is actually targeted older.
Right.
We've got shows on Disney Channel and Cartoon Network that are supposed to be for like 7-year-olds, and they're clearly not. So I'm trying to figure out where this came from. Tumblr seems to be the biggest culprit because there's a huge cartoon fandom on Tumblr, and Tumblr, just to let you know how valuable Tumblr is now. Verizon bought Tumblr for $1 billion, and Tumblr sold for $3 million by the time they were done with it. Because Tumblr was such a toxic wasteland, and then they took all the lewds off, and that was the only reason anybody was sticking around at that point. And now
this is where they picked a lot of these artists from.
Yep, and a lot of these people have gone to Twitter, the toxic cartoon fans, and SpongeBob even can't freaking talk about SpongeBob without talking about sex. When I'm thinking about Smexy time, I am not thinking about SpongeBob SquarePants.
I can't believe they had to go there with SpongeBob too. I'm like,
SpongeBob.
Seriously?
So they had to correct. People were upset. They had to correct that he's not gay. He's asexual because he's a sponge.
Right. That's the thing I said. Well, at least they're doing that because people were all mad they're shipping, and I'm like, what about people that identify as asexual? Well, you got Spongebob, so there you go. But I'm just saying, maybe there's no ships because that's not how you identify. What about that? Wrap your head around that one. How about we just don't insert sexuality into children's shows?
Well, speaking of head, Patrick, he looks like a schlong, so maybe that's where people got the idea.
I think he doesn't. Okay, that's your takeaway?
Well, he's
okay.
Pink and schlong-like.
Sure. Okay.
Anyway, so this article, I keep going back to this one. We've talked about it before. It's actually a very good article. It's on Geek Dad.
Oh yeah, and he got so much crap for this, by the way.
I got so much crap for this because we're going to talk about some of the toxic cartoon fandoms, but it's really interesting because this guy is a cartoon fan. I think he's gay.
He is.
And he's talking about cartoon fandom just going too far with the shipping and too far with the, and this is where we talked about the Voltron fandom being very, very aggressive with their ships.
So pissy.
Steven Universe being very aggressive.
Very nice.
And they said they talk about shippers and antis, and he said to term these toxic members of fandom wear proudly, despite its association with combative behavior. And we run into it anytime we do any videos on cartoon shows. Just freaking, they're supposed to be for kids. We get all these weirdos crawl out of the woodwork.
Right. But yeah, I think related to cartoons. Now, shipping, like you said, is not always a bad thing. There's people like any group, you have extremes, and the whole group gets painted with a broad brush because of the extremists. I mean, so not every shipper is a toxic bad person. I want to clarify that because it's like with any group. I'm sure they get upset too, being painted that they're all toxic, even though they aren't, just because the people that behave badly give them all a bad look and a bad name.
Yeah, and they talk about the antis appearing to be a response to, among other factors, changing in how fans interact online. LiveJournal is actually a precursor to Tumblr. It's the same group of people with the same mindset. They started on LiveJournal, they moved to Tumblr, and now they're on Twitter. And we're gonna find most of this drama now with these cartoon shows, and the shipping and the hating and the baiting is over on Twitter.
A lot of comic people came from there too.
A lot of comic people came from there. So that's why are things the way that they are now? I think you can trace it back to LiveJournal and Tumblr because that's where so many people that are working in the industry, animation and comics right now, came from that scene with these sensibilities, I guess is the best way you could put it. So it's interesting though because he goes on, he talks about Harry Potter fandom being toxic at times, talking about people.
I think every fandom's toxic at times. I don't care what the fandom is.
Yeah, Steven Universe being one of the most toxic, talking about people getting needles and cookies.
Yeah, that was insane.
But
we know that they bullied people that were on like Steven Universe and they were bullying them. We've heard other fan artists because they didn't do a character the way they wanted them. They bullied them to try to kill themselves and everything else.
Yeah. So it's it's just it's weird to see happen because again, we're very passionate about shows that we grew up watching, very passionate about anime and things that we're fans of. But I can't imagine being upset enough about anything to give like death threats. Like
that one girl that was doing the She-Ra art. We covered it about her. They were giving her, the people were like telling her they wished she was dead and all kinds of stuff because she drew a character in the way that she was originally. They said that she whitewashed Mermista, who was white in the original show, and she was clearly an original OG Mermista character that she was doing a fan art of. And it's like technically you can argue that they ethnicity washed Mermista for the new show. Because the other one was around for 35 years.
But she was just a toy. She didn't matter.
She didn't matter, right? She only matters now because they've assigned a gender to everyone. So now they matter.
Yeah. But yeah, it's insane. And this video was actually, this is Watch Mojo put this out. And they had an article on it too. The top 10 toxic cartoon show communities. And we had Avatar: The Last Airbender. I would do / Korra. I think
Korra more than Avatar.
Korra would be definitely.
I would say Korra before Avatar.
Because Korra's actually got like relationships. Avatar,
well, because they put it in, they shoehorned it at the end, and because they shoehorned it at the end, it was really obviously like shoehorned in.
Yeah.
That means that the whole show was but representation, and how dare you never can say anything bad about Korra.
It had representation for 30 seconds. Very last episode. Adventure Time, of course. Adventure Time.
We saw that firsthand too.
Yeah, Adventure Time's another one like Squid King. It's one of his favorite shows of all time. But we talk about the change in the show from when it first started, and it was just like goofy adventures, Dungeons and Dragons kind of parody thing, and how it became, I think, as the audience aged, or we had people come in that were no longer making a cartoon show for kids, and it got really dark and really depressing, and everybody started focusing on relationships and using it as, again, it seemed like therapy for the writers.
Right, and at the end, you and Squid did a video on the finale, because he had actually spent this whole summer watching it again.
Yeah.
You know, he had already watched it a couple times prior to make sure he was caught up and he was ready to go. And then when the finale came, it did feel like it should have been more than one episode. It was too rushed.
Yeah.
They shoehorned too much in. It didn't really make sense. And it was basically one of those typical, everybody's, the evil's defeated with love and friendship and hugs and cuddles, bullcrap mentality. And you guys said about it, and oh my God, people had a meltdown against, at the time, he was
He was maybe 13, 14.
13 or 14, and he was clearly a kid, and they had a meltdown on him as a kid because he dared point out obvious issues.
Yeah, they were actually threatening Squid King. They were threatening Squid King. He almost didn't come back to YouTube because they were threatening him over a freaking cartoon show, which he was a fan of. He actually was the target audience.
And he watched it from the day it started.
From the very day it started. He was. I remember watching the commercials for it. He was excited about when they had the kid run around going like, "What time is it? It's adventure time."
He dressed up as Finn for Halloween a couple times. They made him a hat. He had comic books. I mean, he liked Adventure Time quite a bit. So, but he got a lot of crap for having the wrong opinion compared to the other people.
Yeah. So we had adults bullying a child over having a contrary opinion
on a show geared for the child,
on a show that was made for kids his age, that he literally grew up with. And so that's how insane, this whole thing has become. Spongebob, we know about that. The Bronies with Friendship is Magic.
Friendship is Magic would have been, closer to number one, personally.
Teen Titans Go, Gravity Falls, Loud House. I honestly have never even watched an episode of it. Voltron, I know, has got some problems. Steven Universe, for damn sure, has got problems with shippers. And Rick and Morty. Now this is
when was this put out?
This was 2 years ago.
Oh, let's say, because She-Ra should definitely be on that list.
I was gonna say,
if you don't agree with any change to She-Ra ever, even if you have a good reason for it, doesn't matter. You are a terrible person, and they will harass the shit out of you because you don't like their version of the show that, quite frankly, is a blip, and then no one's gonna remember it in a few years.
Yeah, so it's got its own entry on toxic fandoms and hatedoms.
Oh, really?
Yes, it does. Talking about the toxic fandom, but also talks about the hate them. I guess we'd be considered the hate them because we're always talking about how much better the old show was. But we don't actually get involved in the pissing matches on Twitter. They bring the pissing matches to us. Again, anytime you talk about a show, even objectively, you get these weird ass people on Twitter come out and they start campaigns because I honestly think they're teenagers or young adults that just mentally are like, oh, I'm just gonna, get into a little tiff with somebody online. Ha ha ha. It's all fun and games until somebody gets a cookie with a needle in it. Or somebody loses their job, or somebody gets death threats or something over a fucking cartoon show. It's just insane. And I'm sorry. I'm gonna say the shipping is a huge problem. It's not the shipping itself, but the
toxic behavior,
the toxic shippers,
of certain people. And
it's a pretty recent thing. Like I said, we didn't have a lot of these problems when we were growing up because cartoon shows were for kids and mostly kids watched them.
Well, even Adventure Time, they didn't have the problems with the shippers until towards the end. I think it all started probably around like 2014, 2015. It got really bad. Yeah,
when they were teasing Marceline and Bubblegum, but the thing is if you don't give them what they want, they will freaking lose their shit. And I think the reason She-Ra caved and gave them what they wanted is because they lost their shit on Voltron, because they didn't get what they wanted with Voltron. So it's, it's just a weird thing. And again, I just want to go back to I don't understand who cartoons are for now. It just seems like they're overpriced fanfics.
Pretty much.
Therapy sessions for the showrunners. It doesn't seem like they're actually thinking about the audience. It seems like they're just trying to work through their own issues and that they're a lot more adult than they need to be.
Right.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I have to agree. As a parent and a teacher and stuff, I think that it's unnecessarily aging up kids more than they need to be. Kids have enough shit to deal with. Kids have so much to deal with now compared to what we had to deal with when we were kids. There's so much. You have cyberbullying now, and there's so many. Their suicide rates are up, and you have so many bad things going on. It's like they already have enough trouble. Now I get, representation is important, especially for kids that are LGBTQ and they want to see people like them, and I get that, and I have no problem with that. For the having some examples of that out there, but what I have a problem with is this obsession these people have with who's effing who on these shows and their kid characters. It's like it's ridiculous. They're kids. I mean, if they're older characters, like I said, Steven Universe with the gems, okay, I can see it. I mean, I could even argue for She-Ra because some of the characters, skewed older. Yeah. I could even allow that to go. Other than the fact that literally every character has an agenda in some way shoved into them, because for no other reason than to, oh look, I out-agended, Steven Universe. So it does feel like a competition about who can out LGBTQ, who can represent whom.
Who can out Tumblr who?
Pretty much. I think it's just lines have to be drawn. I mean...
No pun intended.
What do you mean lines?
We're talking about cartoons. You're like, lines have to be drawn. But ching.
No, I'm just it gets to a point where it's like, maybe you should worry more about the story and about, just having good characters and just not put sexuality into it. Because, if your target audience is little kids or kids, I think anybody under 15 even... I think that it should be, geared to a story and not about, this.
I think we need to roll it back to the 1980s and just have a bunch of cartoons about blowing shit up.
Yeah, that's so much better. Just fighting Satan,
blowing shit up, and selling the shit out of toys.
No, you're not allowed to do that because that obviously makes the show has to be completely bad as soon as toys are involved.
Yeah. Anyway, are we going to wrap this one up?
Yeah, can we please wrap this up?
Okay.
And stop with the prom.
Stop with the prom. It's been done
Grow up.
way too many times. Got to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, rants. Go to clownfishtv.com. Make sure you don't miss any videos. Hit the little bell for notifications. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.